You didn't find this video by accident. Nothing in this universe happens by chance, not even the exact moment you pressed play. There's something within you, subtle or already awake, that knows something greater is happening right now. An invisible division, a silent reorganization of reality that most can't yet perceive, but that is already shaping the destiny of humankind. The ancient Egyptian god Thoth, the keeper of knowledge and sacred geometry, left a coded warning thousands of years ago. He called it the separation of the lands. For centuries, scholars treated it as myth. But what if it wasn't a myth? What if Thoth was describing a real quantum event, a bifurcation point in collective consciousness, the exact moment when humanity splits between two distinct timelines? Before we continue, I ask something essential. Subscribe to this channel now, not just to support the content, but because every new subscriber amplifies the vibrational field of awareness we are building together. Every like, every comment, is a particle of intention that echoes through the collective quantum field. When you interact with this message, you're not just watching, you're anchoring a new reality. Ancient civilizations knew this. Egypt, Sumer, Atlantis, all spoke of cycles of ascension and collapse. Modern science is cautiously beginning to validate what the initiates already knew. The universe isn't fixed, it's probabilistic. Physicist Hugh Everett called it the many worlds theory, a universe where every choice unfolds into a new reality. Thoth called these the 7 chambers of time. What we're experiencing collectively is the collapse of a probability line. Old systems, social, political, religious, economic, are falling apart not by accident, but because they vibrate at frequencies incompatible with the new emerging timeline. Have you felt that something in the world is splitting? That even close friends seem to live in different realities? That time feels accelerated, emotions amplified, and the veil between worlds thinner? That's not coincidence. It's the symptom of a timeline split. And Thoth warned, a moment would come when these realities would separate permanently, and only those aware of their vibration would notice the transition. The final warning is not a threat, it's an invitation. Today, more than ever, you are called to choose the timeline of fear or the timeline of expansion, the path of repetition or the path of ascension. While many still wait for external signs, the real portal lies within you. Comment now if you feel the call. I choose the highest timeline, because in declaring it, you begin to shift the frequency of your entire reality. You people know that the name Thoth was never just a religious title. It represented a consciousness. The ancient Egyptians called him Jehuti, the scribe of the gods, the one who mastered time and recorded transitions between worlds. Thoth was regarded as the inventor of writing, mathematics, sacred geometry, and the symbolic language that encoded reality itself. He didn't simply observe time, he understood it as a malleable field, shaped by vibration and intention. The Hermetic texts, especially the Corpus Hermeticum and the Emerald Tablets, preserve fragments of this wisdom. In them, Thoth describes the universe as a living mind, where everything is thought, and thought creates worlds. There lies his warning. One day, humanity would forget that it creates its own reality. The collective vibration would fall, time would distort, and civilization would enter a cycle of repetition. But Thoth also promised a return, a moment of remembrance, when those with ears to hear would recognize the signs and awaken before the timelines separated completely. Historically, scholars debate the origins of these writings. Many texts attributed to Thoth were translated and reinterpreted over millennia. Not all can be taken literally, but the symbolism that remains universal. It mirrors the same principle now confirmed by quantum physics. Consciousness influences observed reality. When Thoth said, "As above, so below," he foreshadowed the law of correspondence, the same pattern Einstein and Bohr explored when debating quantum entanglement. What happens in the micro reflects in the macro. In modern language, we could say Thoth understood the collapse of the wave function. He knew that observation, or rather, awareness of observation, determines outcome. Reality doesn't happen to you, it happens through you. Thoth's lost message was never about destruction, but about responsibility. He spoke not of a physical apocalypse, but of a vibrational threshold, a moment when the frequencies of fear and consciousness would no longer coexist in the same space-time continuum. And that threshold is precisely what humanity is crossing now. His ancient words still resonate. When the cycle completes, the veil shall fall, and two paths will open. One leads to light, the other to forgetting. Each soul shall walk the path it has chosen, not by judgment, but by resonance. That message wasn't only for Egypt, it was meant for you, the one who senses that the world is reconfiguring faster than ever. Modern science speaks of parallel universes, the multiverse, and fields of probability. But these are just new terms for what Thoth revealed long ago. The universe is a living network of possibilities, and every vibration is a choice of world. Repeat silently now, as a vibrational code. I remember who I am. I awaken to my highest timeline. Thoth's final warning is not a prophecy of destruction, but a technical description, a metaphysical record of the moment when a civilization surpasses its threshold of self-awareness and prouder, as a result, Mandaran fragments its own timeline. It marks the point where the collective sum of human frequencies becomes so polarized that reality, as a quantum field, splits to sustain two distinct levels of vibration. Modern science calls this a bifurcation point. In complex systems theory, when a structure becomes unstable, the system reorganizes into new patterns, either more coherent or more chaotic. In Hermetic spirituality, Thoth called this process the separation of the lands, a metaphor for the vibrational unfolding of human consciousness. Imagine the universe as an immense web of light. Each human thought, emotion, and action vibrates as a frequency within that web. When billions of minds sustain similar frequencies, whether of fear or of love, they create resonant patterns that shape the structure of the collective field. This field isn't symbolic, it's real. Neuroscientist Carl Pribram, along with physicist David Bohm, proposed that the brain functions holographically and that the universe itself is a cosmic hologram, where every part contains the whole. When humanity vibrates in fear, the holographic web becomes dense and incoherent, generating fragmented realities, polarization, and chaos. But when the collective vibration aligns with love, presence, and awareness, the field reorders, light expands, and probability collapses in favor of higher realities. That's what Thoth meant when he warned, "Time will fold upon itself, and only those who see with the inner eye will know the path." The inner eye is not mystical. It's the observer state of consciousness, the point at which you realize you are not the thought, but the thinker. Neuroscience calls this metaconsciousness, when the prefrontal cortex activates, allowing you to observe your impulses rather than be ruled by them. This is the key to bifurcation. The final warning reminds us that every thought generates a vibrational direction, and right now, we are collectively collapsing a line of reality. For Thoth, this was the point of no return, not because something external would punish humanity, but because consciousness itself would choose, by resonance, the plane of existence matching its vibration. In modern language, the reality you live in is compatible with the emotional field you sustain. That's why the final warning is a call to sovereignty, not fear. The question is no longer, what will happen to the world, But which version of the world are you energizing right now? Comment if you wish to seal this vibrational intent. I choose the timeline of consciousness and light. The division of timelines is not an external cosmic event, but the natural consequence of how human consciousness interacts with the quantum field of probabilities. In physics, we know reality is not static. Subatomic particles don't exist in a single state until observed. They remain in superposition, multiple possibilities coexisting, waiting for the observer's choice. The same principle applies to collective consciousness. Each human being is a point of observation through which the universe collapses infinite possibilities into a single experience of reality. But what happens when billions of observers resonate at similar emotional frequencies, holding shared beliefs and narratives? The collective quantum field organizes itself around those dominant vibrations, and the world reshapes accordingly. The timeline split is, therefore, the natural outcome of humanity's energetic polarization. Picture collective consciousness as a vast river. For millennia, it flowed through one channel with small variations. But when the energy level shifts dramatically, as it is now, through the planet's vibrational acceleration, the river divides, forming two parallel streams. These streams represent new timelines, one of density, the other of expansion. In the dense timeline, fear, scarcity, and control dominate. Time feels repetitive, crises loop endlessly. People experience exhaustion, confusion, and loss of purpose. In the timeline of expansion, reality flows with ease, synchronicities increase, time feels fluid, and solutions emerge naturally. Both coexist in the same physical space, but vibrate at entirely different frequencies. You've probably noticed this. Some people seem trapped in fear narratives, while others radiate calm even amid chaos. It's as if two realities are overlapping, and each of us must choose, moment by moment, which one will align with. Neuroscience offers an intriguing mirror to this. When a person changes their emotional state, the brain reorganizes its neural networks, literally altering the perception of time and reality. A coherent mind creates order. A fearful mind creates distortion. Now imagine that on a planetary scale. That's exactly what we're living through. Thoth foresaw a time when time itself would divide in two, and each soul would walk the path it recognized as truth. This isn't an intellectual choice, it's vibrational. The timeline you inhabit matches the frequency you continually emit, not what you think you want, but what you emotionally resonate with. So the question isn't where the world is going, but who you are being within it. Because the universe doesn't create your path, it mirrors your vibration, and that's where the split truly occurs, not as a geographical separation, but as a perceptual shift, where parallel realities coexist, invisible to one another, until resonance finally distinguishes them completely. Perhaps you've already felt it. One day, everything seems normal. The next, there's a subtle displacement, as if something no longer fits. The same people, the same places, yet a different energy. What once felt familiar now feels oddly artificial. These sensations are not coincidences. They are subtle signs that the timelines have already begun to diverge. The first sign is internal, a shift in time perception. You may notice hours flying by, or certain days stretching endlessly. Physics calls this subjective time dilation. But from a vibrational perspective, it reflects the difference between energetic fields. When your consciousness vibrates above the collective density, linear time loses stability. It becomes elastic, because time is not absolute. It's a function of perception. The second sign is emotional. Many people report spikes in anxiety, fatigue without physical cause, or an unusual need for solitude. The rational mind calls it stress. But spiritually, it's the energetic body recalibrating to the planet's rising frequency. Ancient traditions called this vibrational purification, the release of dense layers that cannot transition into the higher timeline. The third sign is social. Notice how humanity is polarizing globally, not just in opinions or beliefs, but in levels of consciousness. Some choose fear, resentment, and division. Others seek silence, self-care, and alignment. These are vibrational reflections of bifurcation, souls reorganizing by resonance. People with similar frequencies are drawn together, while older connections fade naturally. It's not rejection, it's energetic realignment. There's also a subtler phenomenon, an increase in synchronicities, impossible coincidences, repeating numbers, unexpected encounters. All become more frequent as you align with the new timeline. These signs are like lighthouses, guiding you back into coherence. Each synchronicity is the field whispering, "You're on the right path." Another clear signal is perceptual distortion, memory lapses, vivid dreams, déjà vu, or the sense that familiar places have subtly changed. Some of these experiences have neurological roots, altered attention and cognitive processing, but energetically, they indicate frequency adjustment between two realities no longer perfectly overlapped. Finally, there's the collective sign, the acceleration of global events, climate shifts, technological revolutions, abrupt social and economic changes. All are manifestations of quantum reorganization within the global timeline. The apparent chaos is simply the collapse of the old line, the universe dissolving frequencies no longer resonant with the new vibration. These are the symptoms of awakening. Though sometimes uncomfortable, they prove that the transition is underway. The split isn't coming someday, it has already begun. And the very fact that you recognize these signs means that your consciousness has already crossed the threshold. Comment if you feel called to anchor this remembrance in the collective field. I see the signs. I awaken with the new earth. Stop for a moment. Take a deep breath. Feel the air entering and leaving your body. What you are about to hear requires presence, because this isn't just knowledge, it's remembrance. You are not merely watching a video. You are being called. So far, we've spoken of signs, frequencies, vibrations, and the division of timelines. But there's something deeper, something that connects it all. Consciousness is the axis of the universe. Everything that exists, matter, energy, time, emotion, is simply a reflection of how consciousness observes itself. And this is where most people get lost. The greatest illusion of the modern world isn't political or technological. It's the belief that consciousness is produced by the brain. That misconception made humanity forget that the brain is the receiver, not the source. Consciousness isn't inside you. You exist inside it. It's the field that looks through your eyes, dreams through your thoughts, and weaves the invisible fabric of reality. Now understand this deeply. If consciousness is the field that sustains everything, then every shift in consciousness restructures the universe itself. And that is why Thoth, thousands of years ago, warned of the final message. He knew that at a certain point in the cosmic cycle, humanity would accumulate enough energy to interfere with the field of time itself. When the collective vibration polarized, the fabric of reality would split into multiple versions of itself. That is exactly what's happening now. And you, fully aware of it, are at the center of the process. You are the convergence point where the old and the new timelines meet, and your vibrational state determines which one continues for you. Few understand this truth. Most still look outward, to the news, to networks, to institutions. But the portals aren't there. The portals are states of consciousness. The transition isn't visible to the eye. It's vibrational, And the doorway to the higher timeline opens every time you choose calm over fear, presence over distraction, love over reaction. This is the turning point. Nothing that follows will make sense unless you understand that the separation of timelines is a daily, invisible, and deeply personal choice. Before we continue, close your eyes for a moment and repeat silently, I choose to awaken now. I am the consciousness that creates reality. Stay in that silence for a few seconds. That's where the real begins. Remain here, present, because what comes next reveals how this ancient knowledge connects to the most advanced discoveries in modern quantum physics, proving that Thoth was describing, millennia ago, the scientific foundation of reality creation. When Thoth wrote that reality is the projection of divine thought across multiple planes, he was describing what we now call the multiverse. Centuries before the term physics even existed, he spoke of parallel realms, interconnected by frequency and consciousness. What the ancients called subtle planes, modern scientists call parallel universes. In 1957, physicist Hugh Everett proposed the many worlds theory, one of quantum physics' boldest hypotheses. It suggests that every decision, every observation, creates a branching of reality. In other words, all possibilities continue to exist simultaneously, but we only experience the timeline we collapse through conscious observation. Thoth expressed this poetically. Every thought is a world, and every world is inhabited by the mind that conceived it. Ancient initiates didn't need particle accelerators to explore the invisible. They accessed the field directly, through altered states of consciousness. Egyptian temples were not mere places of worship. They were vibrational laboratories. Sound, geometry, and silence were used to alter the human energy field, granting access to parallel planes of creation. Today, physics echoes this through quantum resonance. Systems vibrating at identical frequencies synchronize instantly, even across vast distances. Einstein called it spooky action at a distance. Thoth called it the unity of the realms. Both pointed to the same structure. The unified field of consciousness. Matter is condensed energy. Energy is information, and information is consciousness in motion. Physicist David Bohm, a student of Einstein, proposed the idea of the implicate order, a hidden level of reality where everything is already interconnected, and time is not linear but simultaneous. He said, "The universe is a hologram. Each part contains the whole." Compare that to the Hermetic axiom, as above, so below. Different languages, one truth, the oneness of all things. Quantum physics shows us that the observer is never passive. Observation alters the outcome. The universe responds to attention, which means your focus is a creative mechanism. And when billions of consciousnesses focus emotion on the same ideas, whether fear or love, they create shared lines of reality. We call it collective consensus, but in truth, it's synchronized quantum creation. Thoth explained it long ago. Man is the mirror of the all. Move the mirror, and the reflection changes. Transform the reflection, and the all moves. To understand this is to recognize your power. You are not a passenger within the universe. You are a living cell of the cosmic body itself. Every thought, every intention, every act of awareness is a vibrational command within that living system. Thoth's multiverse is not mythology. It's a symbolic map of the infinite probability field that quantum physics is now beginning to describe. And the choice of timeline is an act of vibrational coherence. What you feel, believe, and sustain energetically, the field mirrors back. So the ancient phrase, "know thyself," was not philosophical, it was technological. Self-awareness is the code that allows the human being to navigate consciously between realities. Comment to anchor this understanding into the collective field. I am the conscious observer of my reality. All creation begins in the invisible, but the invisible is not emptiness, it's potential. It's there, in the silence between one thought and the next, that the universe decides which reality will crystallize for you. And that decision doesn't come from outside. It's born from every vibration you unconsciously sustain. Most of humanity still lives reactively, repeating emotional patterns they don't even notice. These patterns act like vibrational programs running constantly in the subconscious, shaping reality beneath awareness. And that's where choice becomes unconscious. Every recurring thought, every unobserved emotion, every belief about what's possible or impossible, all of it forms your personal timeline. Neuroscience shows that over 90% of our thoughts are repetitive and unconscious. In quantum terms, this means that 90% of your reality is being collapsed by vibrations you didn't choose consciously. You are creating worlds while half asleep. Thoth called this the dream of shadows. He said humanity lives inside mental mirrors, projecting fear, desire, and guilt, then calling it reality. But the moment you become aware of a pattern, it loses its power over you. The act of observing with presence and without judgment is the beginning of transformation. That's when you step out of the automatic timeline and start co-authoring your own existence. Modern psychology calls this conscious neuroplasticity. When you deliberately shift the focus of your attention, you rewire your brain and reprogram how it filters reality. Every time you choose gratitude, calm, or compassion, you literally activate a new neurological timeline, and the universe, as a quantum mirror, responds by reorganizing external events to match that new vibration. This is true alchemy, transforming the dense into the subtle, the unconscious into the conscious. Thoth said, "The awakened man chooses his worlds, the sleeper is chosen by them." That's the essence. The choice is not intellectual, it's vibrational. You are choosing right now, with every emotion you sustain, every thought you repeat. So the affirmations you write here, in the comments or in your personal journal, are more than words. They are vibrational codes. When you write, read, and repeat them, you create an energetic circuit that reprograms your mind and anchors this new timeline in your field. So when I invite you to comment, it's not just to support the video, it's to nourish the collective current of consciousness. It's a practice of anchoring. Daily repetition turns vibration into identity. If you wish to seal this awareness now, write, here or privately, "I consciously choose the frequency that creates my world." Repeat it daily, aloud or silently, and let it become the soundtrack of your vibrational field. Because each time you say it, the universe rearranges itself around your coherence, and everything that no longer resonates begins to dissolve, gently, naturally. This is how timelines separate within us, not through catastrophe, but through subtle, silent decisions unnoticed by those still asleep. And this is how you move from reaction to conscious creation. Nothing vibrates by accident. The universe is a symphony of frequencies, and each human being is an instrument constantly tuning itself to the universal field. Science no longer doubts that matter is energy vibrating at different rates. But there's something beyond that. Human consciousness is the invisible conductor of this symphony. It doesn't just perceive vibration, it organizes it. Nikola Tesla once said, "If you want to understand the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration." Thoth would have said it differently. All is vibration of the universal mind, each soul, a chord of the whole. Modern quantum physics confirms what ancient initiates knew. The human heart's electromagnetic field is dozens of times stronger than the brain's. And that field, emotional, coherent, alive, is what broadcasts your vibrational signature to the universe. At every moment, your personal frequency sends a command to the quantum field, attracting realities that match what you feel, not merely what you think. That's why it's not enough to want a better life. You must vibrate as if you already live it. Wishing without vibrating sends a mixed message to the field. But when you vibrate love, gratitude, abundance, and presence, you align with the frequency where these realities already exist. And once tuned, everything on that wavelength naturally appears, not through effort, but through resonance. Neuroscience explains this through heart coherence. When we breathe consciously and align emotion and thought, the heart emits harmonic waves that synchronize the brain and nervous system. In that state, your energy field expands, the mind calms, and the body enters a regenerative and creative state. This is when synchronicities multiply, because you're no longer vibrating against the universe, you're vibrating with it. But the opposite is also true. When we live in fear, anxiety, and resistance, the field becomes incoherent, chaotic, fragmented waves. In that state, the universe responds with delay, conflict, and apparent disorder. Not as punishment, but as a mirror of the vibration sustaining it. That's why vibrational practices matter. Meditation, conscious breathing, silence, music, elevated words, gratitude, these aren't symbolic. They are vibrational engineering. You're calibrating your energy body to the frequency band of the higher timeline. Words are vibrational keys. Sound is the first manifestation of consciousness. Each affirmation is a quantum code. Each repetition, a pulse of light woven into the fabric of reality. Thoth once said, "The word is the bridge between the unseen and the seen." And today, physics agrees. Vibration is the bridge between thought and event. You are that living bridge. And the way you vibrate right now determines which version of Earth you'll continue to awaken in tomorrow. Rewriting your timeline is not mystical or complex. It's a process of constant remembrance. With every choice, every thought, every conscious emotion, you decide which version of reality will continue to exist for you. It's not about escaping one line for another. It's about raising your vibration until the lower reality simply no longer matches who you are. When you change within, the world inevitably responds. That is the Hermetic principle Thoth sought to teach. The universe is mental, and mind is the point of creation. The rewriting happens quietly, in daily practice, in how you breathe, observe, and respond. It happens each time you stop repeating fear or resistance and choose presence instead. In that moment, the old collapses and the new begins. Everything shared here is not a promise of the future, but a description of what is already underway. The timelines are separating now, and consciousness is your passport. There's no need to rush or fear, only to remember. Remember that you are the observer, the creator, and the reflection of all that exists. Keep observing the signs, tending to your vibration, and feeding the field with elevated intentions. Every act of presence, every moment of love, every conscious thought plants a seed in the brightest timeline. Let Thoth's ancient words echo as a quiet reminder. As above, so below. As within, so without. Everything you transform within yourself transforms the world. If this message resonated, share it. Help expand this field of awareness, because every awakening ignites hundreds more. Leave your comment, your vibration, your presence, not for engagement, but because your energy is part of this collective creation. And remember, the highest timeline is not a place in the future. It's a state of being, available here and now. Walk in peace, clarity, and love until the next awakening.